I'd like to welcome you all to Eyes on Books. This is a presentation from the Video Club of Laguna Woods. My name is Terry, and my co-host, is Bill.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to be presenting the book, Panic Attack. It is a book by Dennis Palumbo, and it's a psychological thriller that we're going to be presenting. I think you're going to enjoy what we have to say about the book. We're excited about it. We've read it, and it's an interesting psychological thriller, and we're going to take you through it step by step. And then we're going to be inviting the author to join us, and we're going to see where it takes us. It was a very good read. So, Bill, let's get started.
Okay, psychological thriller.
Yes.
That it was. Kept thinking, okay, why is this guy involved in this? But he's a psychologist, so they're your psychological thriller. As you said, it's a great read. I mean, if you like detective stories that move, it moves very well.
It's a fictitious book, let me tell you all right now.
Yes, but it's based in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not fictitious.
It starts out so innocently. You would never expect what is going to happen in the following pages.
No, that's true. You do, a lot of times you're building up assumptions in the book, and you think, okay, this guy do it, and nope, nope, nope. And finally, at the end, your assumptions are...
But you're at a football game.
Yeah?
You're at a college football game in the middle of a quiet little town, and then suddenly the activity splashes onto the page.
Should we give the viewers a little hint on what they're going to be seeing? In other words, what is happening each step here that somebody gets bumped off? Because there's a lot of that in the book.
Those are perfect words. Getting bumped off.
Getting bumped off. They're getting bumped off, and there's a big boom at the end.
You have to be willing and very tolerant of people being killed.
Yes. It's a story about a sniper.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it a little bit comes in when I was really going through the book. It reminded me a little bit about the sniper attacks in Washington, D.C. 10 years ago or so. So it's that kind of thing, but the ending is much different.
But let's remember one more time. Fictitious.
It is fictitious, yes.
In this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Though, at the same time, when you read the book, you start getting emotionally involved in the book. And I found myself, walking out of my manor going, uh-oh. But then, no, Bill, stop. Your mind's gone too far. It's like, but yeah. I mean, if you do not like this type of... It's not gory. It's not good. There's no gratuitous gore. It's a good story. So, but you get emotionally involved in it.
Yes, you do. You really do.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if it's one after the other, after the other, but they make no sense.
Right.
And you say, what is going on? I just don't get it.
Yeah. And at times I find myself, the Rinaldi character, who's the main character, what is he doing? Is he a vigilante? He is a psychologist, for he's working for the Pittsburgh police. But still, you keep asking yourself, why is he involved in this story? Is he a vigilante? Why? I mean, did the author intend that? Which we can ask him.
Well, not necessarily a vigilante, but he's always there. He's always present. He's not actually doing the killings.
No.
But he's there.
At one point, did you think he may have been the trigger person or the one behind the trigger people?
I did.
You did?
I did. I was very suspicious of him to begin with. It changed very quickly, especially when he was in the stadium for the very first killing, and it happened. The killing happened, and
Yeah.
it occurred.
And the first killing, you think he's one character, but it's not that character, it's somebody else. And you start thinking, okay, the guy who was supposed to be killed, maybe he's the one who's the guy behind everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, because it's a good read.
It really is a very good read. But I'm telling you what, this is such an amazing book. It took me a while to really get into it. It was like, oh my God, another one? Another victim? Another victim? What
Yeah.
sense does this make? But it was like a tremendous puzzle that started coming together.
So it really doesn't come together to the end.
Well, half of the puzzle comes together.
Yeah.
It's like when you're putting a puzzle together and you put all the edges.
Correct. Yes.
You put the edges together, and then you're stuck with the middle pieces. So I got all the edges put together. And the sniper, who was finally caught,
Yes.
and he was my edges. But then the sniper was killed.
Right. Let's say the sniper was caught. Well, the sniper was caught, but that's one of the arcs. There's two very interesting arcs in the book. It's the sniper arc, and there's a mother-daughter arc that I found actually very intriguing. It was very emotional between, and again, it's as we talked, the outcome of that is you're rooting the person on. It's like, yeah, good, all right.
But the murders didn't stop.
No.
Or the executions, or whatever you want to call them.
Not the sniper, yeah, I call it assassinations, if you will.
They did not stop.
Yeah.
So the sniper is taken out, and it continues on. It just continues on. So you say, okay, am I going to continue with this puzzle? Is it going to come together?
Well, that's what makes, to me, I'm a real stickler for conflict in a fiction. And this doesn't disappoint. There's conflict after conflict after conflict. And reading a lot of Michael Connelly books, I see a little parallel between this character and Bosch. Just, Bosch, his house overlooks Hollywood. His house overlooks Pittsburgh and the Three Rivers. You could just see the parallels there, and I thought it was kind of cool. But and if you like Pennsylvania, if you like that area of the country, he puts it in his narrative very well that you can feel it. You can feel that you're in the cold of Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, and that lends to a story. So it was that part I enjoyed. I enjoyed the whole book actually. So, but there is a big boom at the end.
There is a very big boom in the end.
Besides the little booms of the snipers, there's a big boom at the end.
And I love thrillers, and I love mysteries. That's where I go when I pick a book to read.
Yeah. The psychological part, you don't really put together. I don't, and I didn't. It could be I was naive. I didn't put it together as a psychological thriller until the end, until you find out really what the motivation is, and which is, because you're thinking, as we said before, you're going through this whole book, it's step by step, okay, he did it. The assumptions are all wrong at the end, which makes it good.
So it surprised me even when the law enforcement people were being knocked off.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it was, again, it's part of the story. But there was a lot of interesting. I felt that the Daniel Rinaldi was a compassionate person. The dynamics between him and one of the lead detectives, who is the polar opposite of him, but he still cares for him. And that I found interesting. And there's a bar owner that's kind of a psycho. He has compassion for him, so he has compassion for a lot of people.
So talking about the other characters in the book, they were fascinating.
Yes.
And they were interwoven into this book that really brought it to life.
Yeah.
The detective that you're talking about, he went through a lot.
Yeah. All the way through the book.
And they had such an interaction between the two of them, a love, hate, disdain kind of relationship.
So would you recommend this book to readers?
Those who like these kind of thrillers, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I would too, but I would just caution if again, there's a lot of killing. It's a sniper story, but it's not gratuitous. It's if you like a detective story that is full of movement and moves forward very quickly, it's a really good book. It's a good read. And
if you're really good at postponing satisfaction.
Good way of putting it. It's an amateur sleuth story.
And waiting and holding on to facts in your mind and keeping those facts until the end.
Yeah.
And then when it finally hits you and say, oh my goodness, that's how it happened. And that's how it all boils together into this big stew.
Right.
Yes, absolutely, I would recommend it.
And now let's go to the author, Dennis Palumbo, and talk about Panic Attack. And we're back now with Dennis Palumbo, the actual author of Panic Attack. Dennis, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Now, both Terry and I are voracious readers, and one of the things that I get into is as I read something is the structure of the story. As an author, do you write by the seat of your pants, or do you kind of plan it out beforehand?
Well, I'm afraid I'm a pantser. I do write by the seat of my pants. When I write the first sentence of a new novel, I have no idea what's about to happen. Usually about 100 or 50 pages in, I kind of start having an idea who the bad guy is. It's a fun way to write because I'd rather write than think, but it's very inefficient. I usually have to go back and rework a lot of material as ideas come to me.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You said you don't
when you're
think.
writing a thriller with this many twists and turns, you write yourself into a cul-de-sac a lot. You have to go back and fix it. But I'd rather write than think.
So actually, it's Ray Bradbury used to have on his desk where he would be typing. He would have a sign that says "Don't think." And that's because I was one of the other questions was what you kind of already answered it. So you didn't write the story backwards. You didn't know the end and
no, and I never know who the bad guy is or where the book's going to end, which means I do a lot of rewriting. But I think if I'm surprised, the reader will be surprised. That's been my experience. If a twist happens that just occurs to me, I realize it'll surprise the reader as well.
Was there a what if moment? What if in Panic Attack in the initial thinking of this book?
It started real simply because, frankly, because of the pandemic, and I'm a therapist, and I've been dealing with panic attacks. They're on the rise because of the pandemic. And so I thought, well, what would panic a city the most? And it was a rooftop sniper who seemed to be targeting people at random, which we've certainly seen in the news. And the thing I think that makes Panic Attack an interesting book is about 2/3 of the way through, we catch the sniper. but everything we thought we knew about why was wrong. The way I like to put it is we catch the sniper and the real mystery begins.
Oh, that's exactly what we were talking about before you came on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like making the edge of the puzzle, putting it together, but then you still have the whole middle of the puzzle that you have to put together.
That's right. I've been hearing that from a lot of people, that they liked the twist and how the book turned in a way they weren't expecting.
Are you still a practicing psychologist?
Oh, yeah. In fact, at 11 a.m., the reason I have to stop is I have a patient. Yeah, I have a full practice. And, you know, my mystery writing colleagues knock out a book or two every year, but with a full practice, my books come out every 2 or 3 years because I can only write around my day job, if you know what I mean.
So you're not like, because both Terry and I were commenting on just how we were kind of getting to the point where Daniel Rinaldi was putting off his patients because he wanted to be this amateur sleuth. And we're both going, wait a minute, I don't want to go see a psychologist like that.
I know. He gets to cancel his appointments a lot more than I would and keep my practice going.
Yeah. What is the clinical definition of a panic attack?
A clinical definition of a panic attack as opposed to an anxiety attack. People confuse them all the time. Panic attack has particular physiological symptoms. Very tightness of breath. Most people who have a panic attack think they're having a heart attack. They're very, very similar. You have a sense of dread that you might die. That, you know, people who have panic attacks race to the ER. Whereas your average person having an anxiety attack just takes a Xanax or something and fine.
Right.
But a panic attack is a very deep-seated physiological response. And it spikes your cortisol levels. Your heart pounds so fast that you think you're having a heart attack.
Wow, interesting. I really appreciate the fact that you keep the same main character throughout several of your books.
Yeah, I have recurring characters. The Panic Attack is the 6th novel in the series. And what I like is keeping these recurring characters from the first book. So you see people's lives change. You know, people get divorced, they get married, they move out of town. In one of the books, one of my recurring characters doesn't make it, which shocked the heck out of people. So I like the idea that I've built a little, a company of actors that I can play with in all the books.
So please tell me how he shows up at everything. He's
nosy.
He's always there. Somebody gets shot, he's there. He sees the sniper. He chases the sniper. He's.
One of the problems when you write in the first person is how do you make it so that he's there when the stuff happens? And also, the reader only knows what the first person narrator tells them. So it takes a certain amount of contrivance and right on the edge of believability that my first person narrator is where the action is. However, if you've ever read Raymond Chandler or Dashiell Hammett, their first person narrator is always where the action is too.
Yeah.
You know, so what does end up happening, to be honest, is if you read Panic Attack, for example, there are 4 or 5 sniper deaths at which Daniel is not present at all. He's called in afterwards sometimes to talk to someone who may have survived it, or someone who's catatonic as they're sitting next to someone who's been killed. But we don't see the shooting because Daniel didn't see the shooting. In Panic Attack, the only shooting he actually witnesses is the first one. And so that makes it, I think, quite realistic. He works for the police and he's always called into these situations after the fact.
Which leads me to my next question. I mean, you said you do a lot of pre-writing on the book before you do it by the seat of your pants. Do you have many discussions with detectives and police officers to kind of formulate the story?
Oh, yeah. Over the years, I mean, a good friend of mine, Paul Bishop, is a mystery writer and former LAPD detective. But I've also, you know, I call them all the time and ask for things. And especially like victim services. I know a little bit about how psychologists who work for the police work. Again, this is fiction, so my lead character has a little bit more creative license than he might normally.
Sure.
But not that far away, not that far off, to be honest. And one of the things that I enjoy, and it seems like is a part of the function of the series, is the police. The Pittsburgh police are very wary of Daniel Rinaldi, and they're always threatening to cancel his contract.
Always.
And so he always has this sort of Damocles over his head that he's going to get his contract canceled. The other thing the police don't like is he's become kind of known as a talking head, like on CNN. You know, whenever there's a mass shooting or there's a serial killer, he's one of those talking heads that you see on CNN. And the police resent how well known he is.
Which I think comes out in the detective. He
kind of has them a little over a barrel for that reason. Yeah.
That comes out with the detective, the relationship with Harry, the detective. You could tell it's a love-hate relationship. I think it was one of the greatest relationships in the book. I mean, Harry's always showing up drunk, but you know they help each other solve the mystery here.
Yeah, remember Harry in Panic Attack. Harry is going through a big problem. His ex-wife is getting married again, and he's very upset about it. But the reality is their love-hate relationship has been one of my favorite things to write. The two relationships I like writing the most is Harry, the police detective, and Daniel Rinaldi. But I also like the relationship between Daniel Rinaldi and Noah Fry, who runs the bar, Noah's Ark.
Yes.
That is a converted coal barge on 2nd Avenue on the Monongahela River.
Right.
He's former patient of Daniel's, and he now works at this bar, and he's a paranoid schizophrenic. And I use him as what the indigenous people call the crazy wisdom figure. He's crazy as a loon, but he has more wisdom. His ability to detect bullcrap, let's put it that way, is unerring. And he often puts Daniel Rinaldi in his place, essentially, saying stuff like, you're not as smart as you think you are, and you're going to get in trouble again. You must have some kind of death wish. I'm supposed to be the crazy one, but look how you act. So he and Daniel Rinaldi and Noah Fry have this real nice relationship and also I've never seen an accurate portrayal of a paranoid schizophrenic until my series.
Terry and I were talking about both these characters and just how that shows the depth of compassion of Daniel Rinaldi. He's caring about these two very flawed characters. I thought it was great. Now, when you were, again, getting back to the structure of the writing, did you know before writing the story there'd be so many snipers within the story, or did that just come out?
No, I knew there was a sniper. I started...
But so many of them, well, so many deaths, I should put it that way.
And that there would be about 4 or 5 sniper killings. I was pretty much thinking it was just a sniper shooting at random because if you remember from the book, mostly I wanted it to be about how Daniel was treating people who were in panic attack, like he does with Jason, or what he does with the wife of that victim who's holding his hand of her dead husband,
right, and
is catatonic, she can't move. That's what I thought the book was going to be about. And it wasn't until I was watching some news stories about, I don't want to give anything away, but I suddenly realized, what if it isn't random? Well, if it isn't random, how about if it's this? And it's a big issue today. It's very relevant and unfortunately more relevant every day.
Okay,
between your story and Michael Conley's story about Bosch and Dennis Rinaldi, or Dennis Rinaldi, Daniel Rinaldi, and how he overlooks the three rivers from his little deck there, and how Bosch overlooks Hollywood from his little deck there. Was that conscious in you, or just I thought it was fun?
Well, no, it was my Easter egg salute to Michael Connelly.
Okay.
I love Michael Connelly and I love Bosch, and I thought one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have my guy overlook something. Now, Washington is the perfect place to overlook the point where the Monongahela River and the Allegheny River come together to form what every schoolboy knows, the mighty Ohio. And I thought, well, I love the merging of those rivers, and I like that he could look down on the rivers from a house up on Mount Washington. And so it was my little wink at Bosch looking down over the lights of the Hollywood Hills.
Very
Okay,
cool.
Dennis, it's been wonderful. I'm sorry we are out of time.
Oh my gosh, that was so quick.
I know, and it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and your tolerance with getting all of this Zoom together.
My pleasure. I think I have a face made for radio, so this is a big shot, but I'm glad I got a chance to do this.
Well, we do appreciate your time, and thank you so very, very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on Eyes on Books. That was Dennis Palumbo and his Panic Attack. And just a terrific read. If you're into detective stories, it'd be a great book to read. And we'll see you next time on Eyes on Books.
We thank you for tuning in to Eyes on Books. And if you have any books that you think might make an interesting discussion or authors who are good speakers, we'd love to hear your suggestions. Contact us at eyesonbooks@yahoo.com and keep watching.